Hey everyone, welcome back to Story Pebbles. Have you ever found yourself wondering how some people always seem to get their way? It's almost like they've got this secret playbook that lets them navigate tricky situations and come out on top every time. Well, today, I'm going to let you in on some of those secrets, specifically 5 dark psychology tactics that people use to subtly influence others without them even realizing it. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to recognize these techniques when they're being used on you, and more importantly, how to use them yourself when the situation calls for it. So, let's dive in. First up is a tactic that's surprisingly simple but incredibly effective: agreeing with insults. Picture this. Someone takes a shot at you with a rude comment like, "Hey, you're really ugly," or "You're so stupid." Naturally, they're expecting you to get upset, to argue back, or to defend yourself. But here's the trick. Don't do any of that. Instead, just agree with them. Say something like, "Yep, I know," or "You're right, I've always thought the same." The brilliance of this approach lies in its simplicity. By agreeing with the insult, you completely disarm the other person. They're left standing there, unsure of what to say next because you've taken away their power to hurt you. This tactic works because it flips the dynamic. Instead of you getting defensive, they're the ones left scrambling for a response. Now, you might be wondering, but won't agreeing with an insult make me look weak or self-deprecating? The answer is no. If done confidently, it actually makes you appear more secure and unbothered. It shows that you're not easily rattled and that their opinion doesn't hold power over you. However, it's important to note that this tactic works best when the insult is clearly baseless or meant to provoke you. If the comment is something you genuinely feel insecure about, this approach might not be the best fit, as it could reinforce those insecurities rather than diffuse them. Next, let's talk about lying, or more specifically, how to make sure people believe you when you do need to lie. The secret here is to cultivate a reputation for being a terrible liar. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's incredibly effective. If people around you think you're hopeless at lying, maybe you're known for your obvious tells or your inability to keep a straight face, then when the time comes that you need to tell a lie, they're more likely to believe you. This works because they'll assume you couldn't possibly be lying convincingly, given your history. It's a classic case of managing expectations. For example, let's say you're in a situation where you need to cover up a surprise party for a friend. If you've previously been caught lying poorly about small, insignificant things, like where you went for lunch or whether you've seen the latest episode of a show, then when you tell your friend, "Oh no, there's nothing special planned for your birthday," they're more likely to believe you. The key to this tactic is consistency. You need to build up that persona of being a bad liar over time, so when you finally need to pull off a convincing lie, it slips right under their radar. The third dark psychology secret I want to share with you is all about nonverbal communication, specifically the power of the nod. When you're asking someone for something, whether it's a favor, their approval, or support for an idea, try subtly nodding your head as you make the request. This technique taps into a psychological phenomenon where people are more likely to agree with you if you're nodding while speaking. It's a form of nonverbal persuasion that works on a subconscious level. The person you're talking to might not even realize why they're agreeing, they just feel more inclined to say yes. Let's put this into context with an example. Imagine you're asking your boss for a raise. As you're presenting your case, you subtly nod your head while stating your points. The nodding action creates a sense of agreement and affirmation, making it harder for your boss to outright reject your request. Of course, this doesn't mean that every request you make will be granted simply because you nodded, but it significantly increases your chances, especially when combined with a strong verbal argument. However, a word of caution. This tactic should be used sparingly and naturally. If you overdo it or make it too obvious, the other person might catch on to what you're doing, and it could backfire. The goal is to use it subtly, blending it seamlessly into your conversation so it feels like a natural part of your communication. Moving on to the fourth secret. This one's a bit more nuanced but incredibly powerful. making people think your idea is their idea. Here's the thing. People are more likely to support and commit to an idea if they believe it was their own. This tactic is all about planting the seed of your idea in someone else's mind and letting them nurture it as if it were their own. The key is to suggest your idea in such a way that they arrive at the conclusion themselves. For instance, if you're in a team meeting and you have a specific approach in mind for a project, instead of outright stating your idea, you might say something like, "I've been thinking about our project, and I wonder if there's a way to streamline our process. What do you guys think could help with that?" By posing the question this way, you're encouraging others to think along the lines you've set, and when someone suggests something similar to your idea, you can affirm it, giving them credit. Now, they feel ownership over the idea and are more likely to be enthusiastic about it. This tactic is particularly useful in group settings where consensus is important. It allows you to guide the conversation toward your preferred outcome without appearing domineering or overbearing. However, it's important to handle this tactic with care. It's not about manipulating others into doing what you want, but rather about facilitating a collaborative process where everyone feels involved and valued. Lastly, let's explore a negotiation tactic known as the door-in-the-face technique. This strategy involves making a large, unreasonable request first, one that you expect to be rejected. After the initial refusal, you follow up with a much smaller, more reasonable request, which is what you wanted all along. Because the second request seems modest in comparison to the first, the person is more likely to agree to it. This tactic works because it plays on the psychological principle of reciprocity. The idea that after someone says no to a big request, they feel more inclined to agree to a smaller one as a way of meeting you halfway. For example, if you're negotiating with a client for a project fee, you might start by asking for a high amount, knowing they'll likely balk at it. When they refuse, you then suggest a lower fee, which is closer to what you actually wanted, because the lower fee seems more reasonable compared to the initial high one. The client is more likely to agree. The brilliance of this tactic is that it allows you to set the anchor, an initial high figure that makes your actual desired outcome seem more reasonable. However, it's crucial to ensure that your initial request is plausible, even if it's unlikely to be accepted. If the first request is too outrageous, it can damage your credibility and make the other person less willing to negotiate with you at all. So there you have it. 5 dark psychology secrets that can give you a significant edge in social interactions and negotiations. Whether you're looking to diffuse insults, craft believable lies, subtly persuade others, make your ideas more acceptable, or negotiate like a pro, these tactics can be incredibly effective when used correctly. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. These techniques can be powerful tools for navigating complex social dynamics, but they should be used ethically and with care. Misuse of these tactics can lead to manipulation and harm relationships, so always consider the impact of your actions on others. If you found these insights valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on more tips and tricks to sharpen your social skills. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay sharp and stay ethical.